This is spectacular.
Isn't it?
I've never even been up here before.
Well, we thought we'd bring you up here because over there is certain scenes from the film with the
certain
Gherkin
scenes,
and various bits, and the Oxo Tower as well. But you know this skyline very well.
I know it better than some, I guess. Yeah. It's nice to bring Thor home, actually.
Does it mean that to you? Because there's so much of London in this film that wasn't in the previous one.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in this city. I trained as an actor in this city.
Yeah.
I started in the theatre, so yeah, it really was. And big shout out to the British crew too. Yeah. You know, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears was poured by.
And you're about to do a playback here, right?
I am. Yeah, at the Donmar warehouse.
For anybody that doesn't know, that's like the biggie to do that one. It's very highly regarded.
Well, it was a theatre that was kind of turned around by Sam Mendes, who has also directed a movie featuring this marvelous skyline and a British spy. And he ran the theatre for 10 years, and then and he kind of he really kicked it off. And Nicole Kidman performed there, and lots of other brilliant actors. And then Michael Grandage took it over, and I did a production of Othello there, actually, with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Ewan McGregor, which is where I met Kenneth Branagh and where I met Joss Whedon. So it's weirdly linked into my superhero adventure, because I'd never met Ken or Joss before, and Joss Whedon, who obviously wrote and directed Avengers, had worked with Chiwetel in Serenity, and he told me that the reason he wrote me such a great part was because he saw me in Othello. So
really, so Shakespeare doing a very well-respected play
has led me to Loki.
It's like 6 degrees of separation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've got to start. I was going to start by congratulating you. It's the third time you brought out your character, polished it off.
Yeah.
There's obviously an extra dimension there between you and Chris, because you work together so well, and it's a little bit tighter, or I don't know how to phrase it the right way, but it just seems very. You don't misdoubt anything that the two of you are saying. Yeah,
it's one of those amazing things. I mean, why does anyone become fast and firm friends with someone else? You can't really put your finger on it. I guess when did we get the job? We were cast by Ken Branagh in 2009,
right? And
I was 29, he was 27. We'd both been kicking around for a bit. We both tried to get parts in films. We both failed to get them, and suddenly we had this amazing opportunity, and we were at a similar time in our lives, mutual excitement and connection, sense of humour, all that kind of thing. It's amazing to think that we grew up on completely different sides of the world, and yet there was something exciting about working with Anthony Hopkins and playing superheroes, and then because it's been such a crazy ride, and we both got to be in Avengers and all that stuff, it's been great, yeah.
So is it something that you'd be happy to revisit again? Because, you know, these particular characters seem to have a lot of life in them beyond 1 or 2 films.
Yeah, I mean, it's all dependent on the producers and whether they think there's an appetite for more. But it's been incredible to have these characters really kind of catch fire, because that's what you always hope for. You know, you can't call yourself an actor without an audience, and the fact that audiences seem to love them is amazing.
And also courageous that most of the humour, I would say, that's actually funny, is injected in it by you, even if it's the intonation of your voice or a look. And that's a hard line to pull, because as I was saying to Chris, and he said, exactly the same, they're comic book characters, and you're fighting all the time to make them real characters. And when you do a bit of humour, you're almost taking a step back, how the audience sees it. So how did you manage to push it forward and still have the occasional, not quite look to camera, but enough to make everybody go?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is they are characters based on comic books, and it's supposed to be fun, you know, and cinema. The cinema I grew up watching as a child was always entertaining. It always had a sense of its own, a sense of humour about it. Of course, a lot of work goes into making these gods and monsters seem real. You know, they are brothers, they are fathers and sons, mothers, they star-crossed lovers, things that are quite human and relatable. But I think it's good that you can have a good time.
And with the film itself, it seems to tease at the end that something could be happening again. Would you be excited if you might have already shot another 10 films? I don't know. Are you?
No. Of course I would be. I have such a good time making them, to be honest. Like, working with Chris is a pleasure, and I don't know. We'd have to think quite carefully about what the story would be. You don't want to just make it for the sake of it. You'd have to. That's the work, is trying to think of a new way of.
We need a pregnancy somewhere along the line. I'm thinking.
Maybe
you're pregnant. It's a different angle.
It would be a different angle. In the mythology, Loki is the father of a horse, a wolf, and a snake. So I don't quite know how. How that would manifest in the film version. But.
Now, how come you did an impression of Owen Wilson? Did an impression of
doing Loki.
Yeah, how did that come about?
I was in Sydney with the film, and I've always done impressions for as long as I've been. When I was a kid, I did impressions. I used to have a double tape deck, and I used to do my own radio show, as it were, and I'd be with the weather girl, and I'd be guests, and I've always done silly voices. And I worked with Owen on a Woody Allen film called Midnight in Paris.
Yes.
And it was just a question from the audience. They said, would you do Owen Wilson playing Loki?
Yeah.
And like the circus bear that I am, I said, okay.
Yeah.
And somehow the news travelled.
But it's had millions of hits on YouTube.
I know. I didn't expect it. I was in an audience, and they said, would you do it? And I said, sure. And I did it. So.
And have you spoken to Owen since?
I haven't. Though somebody did tell me that he's seen it, which worries me slightly. Because
well, I'm sure he would have told you by now.
Yeah. No, he's a good guy, and we had a really good time making that film.
The fans are always very vocal about what they like, what they don't like. They really love your character, but it almost goes into the girls love you and how you look, and screensavers of you and T-shirts. How do you see that side of it? Because you're a very established actor and well respected, and you're balancing between fandom as well.
It's all just such a big surprise, to be honest. I've never expected that kind of attention, and I guess to me the only response is just gratitude. Say thank you so much for being interested in a way. And I try not to think about the other things I'm not in control of. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was looking at your CV. You've been very good at choosing different things and going back to the Don Ma and playing one off against the other. But I was looking at something that you did. What do I hear for Rod Stewart's thong? Is that something that you've done?
Rod Stewart's thong. I've just realised what it is. Yeah, it was an episode of a TV series I did at the beginning of my working life. I just left RADA, and I did a comedy series on Channel 5 called Suburban Shootouts.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And it had some great actresses in it, Felicity Montague and Anna Chancellor, and Amelia Bullmore, and Ruth Wilson and I. It was Ruth Wilson's first job. She's now, of course, a huge star of stage and Olivier Award winner, Jane Eyre. Anyway, it was her first job, and we played boyfriend and girlfriend, and I think that is the title of an episode of Suburban Shootout.
Well, thank you for identifying that and recognising it. You could have said no and walked off.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is. Yeah, we all start somewhere.